should turn that on.
Yeah, if you want to. It can be fun. They're talking about Earth being destroyed by bypasses right now.
Oh, I love that. Looking for the proper keyboard because I've got all these things on.
Yeah, I got to see Wonder Woman last night.
How was it?
Late showing. I loved it. Oh, that was great.
You also saw Dead Men Tell No Tales.
I did. That was okay.
I saw that last week too. My son wanted me to.
That was entertaining. That was fine. I put that in my fine.
Here's my.
It's like mind-blowing, amazing, great, good, fine. Pirates is at fine. Wonder Woman's at great.
I wanted to see Paul McCartney, and I drifted off to sleep at one point.
Oh no,
and that was
you missed it?
I missed it. I was like at the very end of the film. I'm like, how are they going to work him in here? Because it's like, and then my son was like, "Dad, you fell asleep during the movie and you missed him."
You know.
I've fallen asleep in movies. Worst.
We were so close to the screen that it was like, I gotta rest my head for a second. It was.
I'm just resting my eyes.
No, I was like, I got a headache. I need to.
Well, I'm happy to hear that, Tom, because they need a hit. DC needs like a critical hit, it is, or it's done. They're done.
Yeah, I think this is going to do well. I also have it in the movie draft, but even then, I still think.
But what's rattling? I hear something rattling.
That's me.
Yeah.
I'm old, Roger.
It's his bones.
It's my teeth. My teeth are rattling.
It's meds.
Coincidentally.
I gotta take my.
I have these.
See?
They didn't put them in attractive bottles. They always look kind of cool.
Because kids would go after them.
They go after them anyway.
Oh, that's true. That's a good point.
I want small batch, handcrafted, artisanal.
Hipster. You want hipster drugs?
Small batch meth is.
Small batch. Each one carefully crafted.
We are all going to go somewhere.
All right.
I'm about ready. How are you feeling?
In general, I'm fine.
Yeah. Good?
Oh, I'm good. I was
Len?
born good.
I'm always good.
All right. Here we go.
Quality content thrives through the support of those who benefit from its creation. If you gain value from the Daily Tech News Show, consider joining others like me who provide support. Learn how to help at dailytechnewsshow.com/support.
This is the Daily Tech News for Friday, June 2nd, 2017. I'm Tom Merritt. Happy to be joined by Rob DeMillo, venture partner at Spark Labs Global and CTO at Nimble Collective. Welcome back to the show, Rob.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Nice being here.
I always have to stop myself from saying Sparkle Labs.
You can say Sparkle Labs. I'll get phone calls later, but you can say Sparkle Labs.
But I just because it's such a bring such a shiny presence to the show. I think that's why I want to say that.
Go with whatever's in your heart, Tom. That's all.
We're going to talk a little bit with Rob about net neutrality, but not in the way you've heard us talk about before. I mean, we'll bring folks up to the basics if they haven't heard of it, but mostly we want to talk about what effects do these regulations have on investment? And they've changed over time. They changed in the 90s. They changed in the mid-2000s. They changed in 2015. They're probably going to change again. So, Rob, we're going to get your opinion on where that's all at. I hope you have one. Yeah. Also, Len Peralta joining us. Good to have you back, Len.
Yeah, it's good to be back. See, it feels like I haven't been here in a real long time.
I know.
And that's probably what it is.
Yeah, I was gone last week, and then you were gone for a couple of weeks because you've got lots of good stuff going on, lots of projects.
I just finished a big project today, so yeah. But it's good to be back. I feel like I'm back in the groove, so it's good to be here.
Good. I can't wait to see what you illustrate our show with today.
It should be fun.
Let's start with a few tech things you should know about. Waymo told BuzzFeed and Reuters that it is testing an autonomous truck on public roads. Waymo calls it a technical exploration. Rob, this is Waymo getting into Uber's business with the whole auto Anthony Lewandowski, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. That's it's, I'm convinced there's like one guy that invented these things, and he's just kind of moving from company to company. So.
he's like the Zelig of inventing autonomous
more or less, technology. We got the same thing.
Amazon Voice Service will now be able to set reminders and named timers. So the reminders, if you say, remind me to start making chili in an hour, Amazon Echo in an hour would flash blue and tell you, hey, start making chili. You can also name different timers. So if you have 2 different timers going at once, it'll tell you which one is going off.
Yeah, they have. They've got a lot of catch up. I mean, so they've got 70% of the market right now, but coming up behind them is Google Home.
Yeah.
Which is already starting to incorporate a lot of these features because Google's got access to all the data ever in history.
Yeah.
And they know who you are and they know what you are. They're doing clever things like they'll know if I'm speaking versus my girlfriend speaking or whatever and do the right thing. So Amazon has to do something to
keep adding those features. Yeah, it's a feature race, which is good for us as consumers.
Yeah,
Qualcomm announced Quick Charge 4 Plus. That's the successor to Quick Charge 4, if you're keeping track. It makes batteries 3% cooler, 30% more efficient, and charges them 15% faster, says Qualcomm. First phone with Quick Charge 4 Plus will be the ZTE Nubia Z17, which will sell in China for 3,999 yuan. That's about just under $600.
So here's something I'm really curious about all of this. Like, does this increase the battery efficiency, and does it increase the potential for issues with overcharged batteries in small devices?
It's actually one of the, it's good that you bring that up. One of the qualifications for being able to use the Charge 4 Plus label is that you've met Qualcomm specifications at being able to handle overheating, overcharging, short circuits in a way that prevents them. You have to be able to show that, hey, we've got systems in place to prevent that from happening.
All right, so you're not going to see this on wafer-thin phones.
One hopes. Yeah. Now, here are some more top stories. Google announced Thursday it will automatically add blocking to ads in the Chrome browser, targeting annoying ads like pop-ups and page takeovers starting next year. Google's calling it ad filtering, because that's a nicer word to the advertising industry that it relies on for all of its money. The ad filter was developed by the Coalition for Better Ads. This is not a fake coalition. This is, got the Interactive Advertising Bureau, the Association of National Advertisers, Facebook, Procter & Gamble, Unilever. Big companies are involved. I think News Corp is even on this. So they've tried to do the right thing and say, look, we want to make a better experience for people. We're going to put it in the Chrome browser, and that will encourage publishers to have more responsible ads. And for publishers, we're going to let them force a choice through Chrome on people to either whitelist a site for ads if they have an ad blocker, pay a small fee for ad removal, or just not see the content at all, because those page takeovers, those 10-second page takeovers, are eliminated by this Chrome filter. Rob, what do you think of this?
I hope it works. I mean, so it's the mobile browsing experience, even the tablet browsing experience, is becoming untenable. You jump to an article, and because of the slowness of a tablet or the screen size of the mobile device, a page takeover ad stops your device essentially for a little bit of time until the ad displays, and you can't get to the content. And I've been abandoning content. I've been noticing that myself. I just kind of go back and say, I'm not going to deal with this. So if it removes page takeovers effectively on mobile and tablet Chrome devices, that would be great.
Yeah.
But if it,
and that's one of the things Google said is they want to get this going before people start learning to put in ad blockers on mobile, because it's still a minority of people that use them on the desktop, but it's a way bigger percentage than it used to be. And right now, I think it's only 1% of users on mobile yet. So they want to keep that down. The other side of this, though, is this antitrust. I mean, worldwide, Google has around almost 60% of the browser market.
Sure.
And now they're saying, we're going to tell you what ads will be seen by our people. Is that abuse of their market position?
No, not if they state it very clearly. If they say, look, this is our ad policy. If you conform to this ad policy, go crazy. But if you don't conform to the ad policy, then we're going to knock you off. And as long as they keep it very black and white that way, they're not going to have an issue. And I think they'll be appreciated more.
I think the biggest thing they have on their side is that they brought in a lot of large advertisers in Unilever and Procter & Gamble and such. So they've tried to make this in a way that is palatable to them. And if they can get this scheme in other browsers, let's say Safari picks it up or Edge, I think that would go a long way towards saying, no, this is just an industry standard. It's an external thing.
Yeah, they have to work with a lot of the ad agencies. I don't know if you read any of the digital ad blogs and all the rest of that stuff, but everyone's eyes are on what's happening.
Yeah. Nintendo announced the Switch Online service will come out in 2018. It'll cost you $4 a month, or you can prepay 3 months at a time for $8 or $20 a year. And that gets you multiplayer gaming, but also access to classic Nintendo titles. You can play those many times as you want, as often as you want. They're not going to do a monthly limit, which is what we had heard previously, and not doing that. A mobile app is going to arrive this summer in a limited version, then eventually launch for real next year. That will allow you to do chat and set game appointments and manage a few other features of your online presence on the Nintendo Switch. Are you someone who's gotten pulled into the Switch at all?
No, you know what? I'm a huge gamer, actually. I've got, but I'm more in the Sony camp and sometimes in the Microsoft Xbox camp and a little bit of mobile gaming. But Nintendo has never been in my sweet spot, at least not since the 90s, 80s, and 90s. So I haven't even tried the Switch yet. So
you got to get. First of all, you got to try it. Just
is
at
it,
least
is
try
it, do you have one?
I do. I have one, and I'll be honest, I haven't played it in a while because I've gotten really busy, but I haven't played any games in a while. But when I first got it, I was playing it a lot more because I didn't have to fight for television time. I got a close enough experience, and when I pulled it out of the dock, then I'm like, oh, I can actually play while Eileen watches The Voice. And then everybody's happy. I think it's really well done. I don't know that this online subscription is going to be the kind of thing that's going to change anybody's minds, though.
Well, it helped. I mean, I think they have to do it, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. They have
because
to.
The PS, what's it called on the PlayStation? PS1, I think. That's a great service, right? And they've got something similar in Microsoft, and so they actually have to do this.
And $20 a year, that's reasonable.
No,
for
it's
this kind
nothing.
of service.
Yeah, that's nothing.
South Korea has topped Akamai's latest chart of the fastest internet speeds in the world with an average of 28.6 megabits per second. That's not a surprise. South Korea always on top of these lists. Followed by Norway at 23.5 megabits per second. The average internet connection in the U.S. rose to 18.7 megabits per second in Q1. That's up 22% over last year. So the U.S. getting better. Still has the U.S. ranked 10th in the world. And don't forget, these rankings don't include mobile speeds. These are just desktop speeds. Washington, D.C. actually has the fastest internet of metropolitan areas in the U.S.
In Korea a lot, obviously, for Spark Labs. So when I'm in Seoul, it's like you've traveled to the future. Everyone, there's Wi-Fi everywhere.
Yeah.
I don't even bother anymore getting SIM chips for the phone. You just turn the phone on, and I use Google Voice for doing all my communications, and I'm off and running. And it is extremely fast, and it is extremely ubiquitous.
I was using Project Fi in Japan to great effect because they have the roaming agreements.
Sure.
And that worked great. Then I went to South Korea, and for some reason, and I've heard other people had different experience, but for some reason, Project Fi just couldn't get a good connection in Seoul.
Really?
So
interesting.
But it didn't matter because there's, like you said, there's so much Wi-Fi and it's so fast. It was better than the data connection that I would have gotten anyway, just using Wi-Fi at various places. So yeah, that doesn't surprise me. It is a testament to the fact that we're seeing more competition in the U.S. in various markets, that we see this rise. But the rise is still very uneven, as you well know, Rob.
Yeah. Tom's laughing.
Well, and the best part is that right as you're trying to explain that, your bandwidth kind of dropped out, and we couldn't hear what you were saying, as if to demonstrate it.
Yeah, it's demonstrable.
All right. In August, Dutch startup Nerdalize will begin its second pilot of a program to install servers in 42 people's homes. These are corporate servers, corporate data servers, in order to heat water. So this is phase 2. The first phase started in 2015. That phase just heated the room that the server was in. It tried to reduce heating costs. So now they're trying to integrate it more with the home system. Nerdalize believes it can save the average household 300 euros a year on heated water and cost companies 50% less for their data services too. I love this idea, but I also just think about okay, what happens when there's a leak? Either way, data or water, what if somebody has to come in and reboot the server? Do they always have access to your house? Like, how does this work?
Yeah.
Because
I think it's tremendous, but I have exactly the same problem. Like the guy from Silicon Valley showing up at your house and going, "Hey, I got to go to your basement."
Yeah, Guilfoyle in your basement. Imagine that. I mean, I guess we have our water heater out in the garage. It's one of those electric ones that doesn't store the water; it just superheats it really fast. So I guess you could have a limited access area that people could get to, but still, it's weird. But 300 euros, it's close to $500, right?
Try. There could be, rather than putting it in people's homes, you could get away with having server farms that are heating water for steam generation.
Yeah.
Right. And if you centralize it, all of the problems that you and I are envisioning go away. And there doesn't seem to be any real reason to decentralize, I think.
Yeah, I wonder more about. I see how a hot server could heat some water and save you some money on your water heater. I wonder more about that 50% less for data services. I mean, I get the theory behind it, but I wonder if that really pays off. What scale do you have to have for that to come together?
Not very much, actually. I don't know if you remember any of the times at Revision 3 when the HVAC would die in our server closet, and we'd have almost had to evacuate the building because the heat would just blow out of that place.
Yeah. More details have come out regarding the breach of Enterprise Password Manager 1 login. The company said a threat actor obtained access to a set of keys and used them to access Amazon Web Services API from an intermediate host with another smaller service provider in the US. That's how they got in. The attacker accessed database tables with customer info. That's why they're warning people. 1login has not clarified its earlier statements that the attackers may have gained the ability to decrypt customer data. That implies that these things weren't either properly protected. They're talking about problems that they are encrypted at rest, but maybe there are things in transit. It raises a lot of questions, Rob.
Well, it raises a lot of questions, and this would be the death knell for a company like this. I mean, these companies like OnePass and LastPass and the rest of them, it is the protection of the technology to protect your specific information. That is the only thing that they're relying on going forward. And if this is a real thing, if they really got hacked, they don't get a second chance.
Yeah.
And this could bring a company like this down.
And on the one hand, saying there is a slight possibility that there could be decryption is what I, as a sysadmin, need to know. On the other hand, they don't seem to be doing a good job, at least in public, of explaining what they mean like that, which leads me to want to have the worst interpretation.
And people will. I mean, there's already a lack of understanding about how all cloud services work in the general population at large. And so when someone comes along with a problem like this and then makes a vague marketing, it doesn't go along with to making people feel better.
Yeah. So hopefully they'll have more clarification on why. Maybe it's part of their investigation that they don't want to say too much yet, but I hope they do. Because we mentioned 700 clients for 1login. That is a low number. I'm seeing estimates of thousands around the world that they have. So they have been a fast growing enterprise company up until this point.
Up until Thursday. Yeah.
To get all the tech headlines each day in about 5 minutes, don't forget, folks, you can subscribe to dailytechheadlines.com. That's a separate show. It's just 5 minutes, real brief, keeps you up to date. That way, if you miss one of these shows, you can go back and listen to it when you want to and still be up to date. We also have it available on Amazon Echo as a flash briefing and in the Anchor app, where you actually get each one as a bite-sized element that you can page through and make calls in and stuff at anchor.fm. That's a look at our top stories. All right. Not going to get too much into what's going on with net neutrality in the United States, because we've covered that very well. But just to bring anybody up to speed who maybe missed that, or you're a new listener, back in February 2015, the FCC classified ISPs as telecommunications providers, thus regulating them as common carriers. That allowed the FCC, based on court decisions, to say, okay, we can now say all bits are equal and you can't be prejudiced against one bit or another. Previously, ISPs had been classified as information service providers, which prevented the FCC from putting in those open internet guidelines. But of course, before that, in the late 1990s, the ISPs were considered telecommunications providers. So now we're going back. Ajit Pai, on May 18th, issued a notice of proposed rulemaking by the FCC to revert ISPs back to being information services and therefore eliminating the open internet guidelines that relied on common carrier. If you want to make a comment on that, you have until August 16th in the United States to comment. But here's the part of the notice for proposed rulemaking that I want to focus on. Pi writes, investment in broadband networks declined under the past 2 years open internet guidelines. Internet service providers have pulled back on plans to deploy new and upgraded infrastructure and services to consumers. Now, Rob, I know you're not specifically in the network infrastructure business, but as an investor, what have you been seeing since 2015 and the change, and what do you think you're going to see if this notice carries through and they reclassify again?
So there is a lot to unpack here, and and it's hard to have these conversations without getting too political. So I'm not even going to try and put the filter on. So sorry. In the case of Pi, he's had this bee up his bonnet for a long time. I think it's important to remember that he was a lawyer for Verizon. And so he got the other end of the stick. And so when he talks about things like he's going to declassify the concept of the internet back, he's talking about his growth path that he saw at Verizon that was pretty much free of any sort of highway on the information superhighway. There's no stoplights.
Yeah. Verizon could spend its money how it wanted, implementing whatever plans it wanted.
Exactly. And so when he talks about slowdowns, that's what he's talking about. With regards to smaller companies, what it did was open the market up for small companies like Sonic and a bunch of other to the curb to home providers, which never had that opportunity before. So there is growth in the actual infrastructure stage on a community level, right? So that's one point.
Yeah, and we saw the Akamai results are looking better. They're certainly not great, but they're looking better than they have.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other reason that you're seeing growth slow down from the big carriers, from Verizon and AT&T, I think Verizon stopped doing FiOS installations. But the reason has nothing to do with any of this. It has to do with the fact that they're all switching to over-the-air signal. They're all switching to LTE.
Well,
and
even Google Fiber is moving that way. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the growth area is always going to be in the wireless space, right? That's just the way it works. And that's what's happening now in the United States. Companies are betting on faster and faster services and 5G radios and the rest of it to deliver better than broadband speeds directly. And then they have unmetered ratings, and they can kind of go from there. So it's all that is going on is, they're lifting up the veil of allowing big business to continue to operate the way they used to do. And it is going to bring back the concept of tiered pricing for people that can afford it, right? And the thing that makes it difficult to explain to the general public is, at first blush, it does very much seem as though the public is getting a good deal. They have cheaper access to Netflix and cheaper access to Amazon Video and cheaper access to their favorite broadcast television station.
Yeah, the idea being that an AT&T or a Verizon could be charging Netflix and therefore lower its monthly rates.
That's right, and that sounds great. That sounds great to be able to pay $1 and get HBO Go, right? That sounds like a wonderful, wonderful thing. What it does not take into consideration is you. And Twit and a bunch of other networks out there that are trying to generate revenue in the same way and play on a level playing field, and they won't be able to do that. So it's the moves that are being taken right now are the antithesis to the moves that were taken in the Obama administration, where they were trying to allow smaller companies and smaller infrastructure providers equal footing on the same food chain. So there's nothing good that comes out of this.
So when you look at potential investments, how is this changing what kinds of things you're willing to get behind? Does it materially affect that?
Yeah, a little bit. People are nervous, and it hasn't changed the investment landscape yet, but it will over 2017 and 2018. You're going to see probably people questioning investments in content companies. So, companies like Revision 3 or like Maker Studio or some of these companies that existed 7 or 8 or 9 years ago for the sole purpose of creating, delivering, and producing content, investments in those companies may be questioned would, unless they had direct deals with Netflix or Amazon or MSNBC or one of the big boys that actually can get you onto broadband fairly quickly, people will start to wonder why they're putting
I've
this
maintained that, you know, the battle here is between big companies on one side and big companies on the other, right? There's a certain set of big companies that benefited with Wheeler's regulations. There's a different set, as you've mentioned, that benefit with Pi's regulations. But who still is just a football in all of this is the consumer who pays for the ISP, because guess what? You still don't have a lot of choice, and you're still not getting a lot of speed. Now, 10th in the world ain't bad. But you would think that the United States with Silicon Valley and everything would be a little higher than that. So I don't think it's like you can have arguments. And I went on a rant in a post show one time about how the internet is definitely a telecommunications service, not an information service, when you look at those two definitions. But the two definitions actually neither one of them really fit. And what we need is something that redefines ISP as like, this is a new thing and encourages competition. Because even without a lot of competition, the Comcasts and Verizons of the world were still very tentative because of public backlash to do much to violate net neutrality. Now, granted, Wheeler put a stop to it for a couple of years. It looks like they're going to get the green light. I don't expect them to rush back in and put tiered internet the next day because they will get so much negative press. But it would be good if the pressure was coming from other competitors like a Sonic, like these others, so that no one would want to do it, because not only would you get bad press, but you would also lose customers because they'd go somewhere else.
Sure. Well, it's expensive too. I mean, fighting that battle is a rounding error for the Verizons and the AT&Ts of the world. But for a company like Sonic and some of these other smaller providers, it's a big deal. And it's a significant portion of the revenue. And you have to question whether you want to do that and do all the math inside the company to see if there's, return on investment. So it's not just as easy as saying, oh, well, they should, go picket Verizon or whatever people are expecting them to do. And with regards to your first point, I have always felt, and even more strongly feel, that the internet is a utility and should be treated as a utility. It's not like television. It doesn't really matter if you don't get your ESPN game or you haven't watched The Bachelorette, right? That's not an important thing. It is important, however, if your children do not have access to the same quality information stream that somebody else's children have.
Yeah, I mean, ask yourself. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go for it.
I was just going to say, ask yourself when you're saying, is it a telecommunication service or an information service? An information service offers the capability of generating, acquiring, storing, transforming, processing, retrieving, utilizing, or making available information via telecommunications. So when you're thinking of telephone, that's not the telephone company. That's the 1-800 number, right?
Correct.
That's the place you call. Think about the internet. Is the internet service provider giving you the content itself, or is it the transmission between or among points specified by you? You put in a domain name. Now, Pi's trying to argue like, well, but you don't know exactly where that domain name points to. You don't know the IP address. You don't know where it's stored. You also don't know what exchanges the telephone number is using to get to the person you're calling. In fact, sometimes you don't even know their telephone number. You just click Rob in your phone and it goes there. That doesn't mean you're not using a telecommunications service.
Absolutely. And I would even argue it's even more basic than that. Like it's illegal to shut off gas in New England to elderly who can't pay the gas, right? And this is very similar to me. It is, you can't cut off the flow of information to a disenfranchised group of people, and you can't give the information a pass to companies that can afford it, and maybe nonprofit companies that are trying to get their messages out in the same van. You just can't do that kind of thing. And in 1970, so this is another thing that I don't hear people talk about a lot, and I'm not sure why. In 1975, there was something called the FCC Newspaper Broadcast Cross Ownership Rule. And the idea of that was that a single media conglomerate could not own a television station, and a newspaper that covered more than, I forgot what it was, 60 or 70% of the market that they were in.
Right.
Like one entity could not do that. And then what happened was the internet, right? And all of that got subverted. And so people were sticking by those rules because they're still in place as far as I know. But the internet sort of moved in, and then Rupert Murdoch could say, okay, well, I'm going to open these, Fox News can push their stuff out over the internet, and we can still maintain this balance between television and newspapers, and then newspapers became less important. So anyway, so that distinction is going away. And what's happening is that you now have a bunch of information providers across the United States that are providing the majority of information to the masses. Right now, it is a level playing field, but what's going to happen with this ruling is those companies, and I think there's only 15 of them, honestly. There's Murdoch's and Bezos, and there's a bunch of people that own these conglomerates. They can afford to pay that, right? And so what's going to happen is that you've got just a few sources of information that have been given the privileged golden key to the one pipe going into your house.
Yeah. And when
So
you want to go to
how do you
that
think that's gonna go?
that next The Verge, the next Boy Genius report, it's going to suffer. It's not going to load as well.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. So.
Well, thanks for sharing your perspective, Robert. Appreciate that. And we'll definitely keep checking in on this. And folks, let us know what you think too. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com, or even just put some stories up on the subreddit. Thanks to everybody who participates in our subreddit. You can submit stories and vote on them at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. Few messages of the day. First one here comes from Blitz. From thank goodness the pool isn't too hot to swim in yet, Phoenix, Arizona. It says, last year my daughter was traumatized by the fact we could no longer watch Doctor Who on Netflix.
That is traumatizing, honestly.
I know, right? I researched for something that was a DIY Netflix. Based on that research, I bought a lifetime Plex pass last year, installed Plex on a spare Linux box with the media directory pointed at my NAS, a Drobo 5N, dug around on the interwebs for a while, and now I have a system that is costing me money every week. Because what he does is he set up a script, and I'll have all the details in the show notes. He set up a script so that he just puts a DVD in to the drive of the computer. It automatically rips it and codes it, puts it on the Plex server. And then next time he walks by the desktop, pops it out, puts in a new one. So he says, this is so easy. I ripped more than 190 movies over the course of a couple weeks. Now I'm out of DVDs to rip, and I've started buying new ones for the first time in 5 years. So yes, I love Plex, and because of Plex, I'm actually spending money on physical media again.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's it.
I mean, that's just a market inefficiency right there, right? Like,
yeah, it's I don't even know how to classify that, because you're right. He's buying physical media to create the digital equivalent.
Like if there were a DRM-free video store, the whole thing would be silly, right? There'd be no reason for it. But every video store has DRM and won't work the way he wants it to work.
Yep.
And
by the way, he should sign up for BritBox.
For BritBox.
He should buy. Then he gets Doctor Who.
Get the old Doctor Who's. James said, I had a thought this morning while I was listening to yesterday's show. What if part of the Amazon Apple deal to get Amazon on Apple TV was that Siri could connect to Amazon to order things? So we got two stories going on here. One is the rumor that there'll be a Siri smart speaker at WWDC on Monday. And the other one is the idea that Amazon and Apple have set aside their differences and Amazon's video app is coming to Apple TV. He says, being able to order things seems to be a big thing that users of the Echo have, and Apple doesn't have stuff to sell other than tech gear. So he thinks it's a big hole in their strategy that they could fill by saying, all right, fine, Amazon. We will let you be the store for things that aren't in the App Store on the Siri smart speaker if you just give in and give us the video app.
So can I soapbox for a minute?
Yeah, sure.
Is that okay? Okay, so Apple, I think you and I have had this conversation offline before, but Apple's never really understood. Well, they make beautiful products. Everyone's very happy with their products, but they're a closed ecosystem. They always have been since their inception, and it bites them in various ways. And this is one of the ways it bites them. They don't sell very much on their store because they don't play well with others. If this deal does allow better between Apple and Amazon, it's a good thing for Apple, but it feels a little bit like a tenuous Band-Aid. Feels a little bit like something at any point Amazon could go, you know what? No, we're gonna make the deal with Netflix, or we're gonna make the deal with Google, or we're gonna do whatever, and not with you. So they don't have their own stuff. So all they can do is beg, borrow, and cooperate with people that they've been ticking off actually over the last several years.
All right. Well, there you go, James. Interesting theory, though. Thanks for writing in. And let's check in with Len Peralta before we're out of here, find out what he has been drawing. Len, you've been drawing shower pictures.
Yes, out of all the stories today, the one that really kind of really caught my fancy was a story about servers heating up water. I think it's ingenious, although I think there might be a problem, and you kind of hinted at it, Tom, about data leaks. Not only be a leak in the shower, but data leaks are very problematic, could be very important. So this cartoon is a young man in the shower, and it's saying the server is telling him a data leak has allowed you to successfully compromise the digital infrastructure of Krakow, Poland. Also, your shower temp has been optimized to 86 degrees, and you missed a spot. You're welcome. So very strange. I think there'd be some kind of weirdness going on there. Honestly, although I think it's a great idea. I think it's ingenious. I don't know if I'd necessarily be ready for that.
Just don't locate the server in the bathroom.
Yeah, that'd probably be a good idea.
For multiple reasons.
For multiple reasons, yeah. You never know who's looking. So,
well, check it out, folks. LenPeraltaStore.com. You can take a look at that art. You can buy it digitally or a printout to have sent to you as well.
Oh, it's perfect. It's perfect.
Good to have you back, Len.
Hey, it's good to be back.
Rob DeMillo, thank you so much for joining us. If people want to follow you and what you're doing online, where should they go?
Let's see, Twitter, I'm UberRob. You can find, actually, if you go to About Me/Rob DeMillo, you'll find all my connections.
Go do that,
Easiest way to
folks.
do it.
Thanks to everybody who gives a little value back to this show for the value they get. If you are giving us anything at patreon.com/DTNS, you get access to an RSS feed. You should get an email about it. If you don't see the email, check your spam, or go to patreon.com/DTNS and you can see the RSS feed on the desktop side anyway, like up in the upper right. But it gives you a full pre and post show audio version of the show. And today we were talking about old television shows. What were we talking about?
We were, absolutely.
Yeah.
Hee-haw.
Yeah, that's right. We were talking about Hee-haw and In Search Of. So go check it out if you're a patron at patreon.com/DTNS. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. We're live Monday through Friday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 2030 UTC at alphageekradio.com and diamondclub.tv. We're at facebook.com/dailytechnewsshow, and our website is dailytechnewsshow.com. Back on Monday with Patrick Beja to cover World WWDC. Veronica will be on Monday. Talk to you then, or is it on Tuesday?
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
All righty. That was a good show. Thanks, Rob.
Very good. Thanks, guys. That was a lot of fun. Len, that was excellent.
Oh,
I
thank
love
you.
Len's art.
Really good. Nicely done. Hey, my pledge to you guys, next time I will have 200 meg down again.
Ooh.
You know what was brilliant? Is that the only time you became unintelligible was when we were talking about the state of bandwidth in the United States. It was as if we planned it, because the rest of the show you were fine.
Hilarious. That's hilarious.
Yeah,
because
it was
the world was
perfect
like that.
timing.
That's too funny. All right.
Can you hear me? Titles?
Yeah. What are we gonna go to? Showbot.tv, folks, if you want to.
SHOWBOT.TV. All right. Google shoving the page takeover under the rug. Followed up by AWS, Amazon Water and Shower.
That's funny.
This level playing field keeps tipping me over. Your data heats my shower. Keep it up. But what if there's a leak?
Mm-hmm.
The FCC has its fingers in too many pies.
Yeah.
That's kind of gross sounding, actually.
Yeah. Don't take that literally.
But yet accurate.
Server to shower each day. AWS all web server showering. Server
If you
really want to take
your pie hole.
Shut your
Yeah,
shut your pie hole is good.
It might be a little
like that one.
aggressive. I don't know.
I'm gonna vote for that one. Shut your pie hole. Google shoving the page. Oh wait, we already did that one. ISP VIP.
You gotta freeze while reading, otherwise they jump around.
Cole adoration on ad blocking.
I like Zoe Brings Bacon submitted. Rob has perfect timing.
That's pretty funny stuff. You know, if somebody wanted to really,
I like
geek this
Amazon
out, like-
water and shower. That's fun.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's great. Actually,
My thing is like, wouldn't that put the server at risk of potential hacking? Just having it physically there.
well, it doesn't. I've never actually heard of this happening, so this is kind of cool. But if they centralize this to a server farm, and then that's a brilliant solution because they could operate as a fuel plant.
Yeah. No, that
No.
idea was great. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
And
like
it gets rid of Roger's worry because like 42 houses, you could trust all of them won't, like, because they've got physical access to that server. I mean, I guess it's
Yeah.
locked up, you know.
well,
so
you
people-
can, but it's just one of those things that ultimately for security, you'd like to be able to ensure the
Yeah. How many exploits do we talk about where like, but you'd have to have physical access, and it's like, well,
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
And I'm assuming these are all on the outside of people's residences, that they're in a, like the same way that the
right.
power company has things set up. It's probably in a lockbox
I
on
would
the outside
assume
of it,
so too, but
which means that anybody could break into it,
Yeah.
including raccoons.
Or it could even just be something like malicious vandalism where someone just goes through like, oh, I'm a competitor, I'm just going to whack on all these
Yeah.
boxes.
That doesn't make any sense. Although it's a great idea for Bitcoin mining. You can have unlimited supply of power.
right.
I-
At no
I-
charge.
I do like the power generation idea though. That's pretty cool.
No, putting it all in a server like that, or in a server center, like you were
And
saying.
then use
that's
like
a dream.
mood lighting or whatever to make it a lot more foreboding, like reds and oranges.
You just run copper pipes down by all the servers and have them have physical contact with the piece of metal coming out of the servers, and just run them out of the building and just do a big loop.
Yeah.
And you got it.
Is
they
Facebook
get-
doing anything like that with their open data center design?
I don't know. I heard that Google was putting something in Utah that was apparently a green server installation,
Oh,
but I
okay.
don't know what it means. I don't know what that means.
I wonder if any of the excess heat is just reused to regenerate power to offset.
It should be. It should be. But that'll start the perpetual motion conspiracy nuts on going.
Wait, no? What do you mean? There's no such thing, is there?
Perpetual motion conspiracy nuts? Oh yeah.
Yeah. What? No.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
Jesus.
You forget there's a certain percentage of the population has about this much information about physics in their head.
I mean, there are still flat earthers out there. Come on.
Yeah, but I always thought that
Yeah,
was just
yeah,
like I thought that was just
Roger,
people
have you-
being trolling.
Roger, have you been on the
Yes, but I mean, there's one thing for someone to type that stuff, but it's another thing for that person to sincerely believe.
internet?
I don't know.
People do. People absolutely do.
Roger, you underestimate the
Yeah.
the stupidity of many of people.
Look who's running our country right now.
Oh, see, I
How
always
did that happen?
Yeah,
How did that
I had to
happen?
bring it up.
How did that happen?
Well, I have I don't want to get too political, but it wasn't so much that he won as so much someone lost.
Correct. Yeah.
I don't know that he is a perpetual motion conspiracy theorist, though. I
No,
think
but he is a
No,
bag full of
no,
hot
no,
air
no,
that
but-
seems to self-replicate.
We got this idea for always getting power. It's a great idea. It's the best idea we ever had.
They should put a still suit on him from Dune to see if we just recycle that.
That should be all of us.
That would be.
Yeah.
I would wear one.
We all should be getting. Didn't somebody create a still suit?
They did, but it was only
They
for
did, yeah.
sweat. I don't remember it collecting the solid
Solid
remains.
waste.
Yeah.
So to speak.
Because that one never
Well-
made like. What do you, I mean, even if you were walking, you'd still have to
But that's
assume a
that-
certain.
that's what spacesuits are.
Yeah,
Spacesuits recycle urine and sweat. I
Well,
don't.
and
I think
the,
they
I don't. They don't do
package-
solid
package-
waste.
No, they package it
The
solid
Fremen had notorious lack of fiber in their diet. So
You know, they were born when they were born. Their intestines were immediately siphoned off into a colostomy bag.
Yuck.
And it's off the rails.
I never understood that. These people lived in the desert, and you were using, basically Bronze Age tools, and yet they could develop these really advanced still suits.
Wow.
I'll get it. Whatever. I know I understand the whole thing's a metaphor and stuff, but come on, really? They couldn't have a couple of PhDs that are high priests in their society.
Did you ever read Canticle for Leibowitz?
Oh yeah,
That's the plot of Canticle for Leibowitz.
yeah.
Oh, okay. I've heard of it. I haven't
Yes,
read it.
it's after the apocalypse.
You'd like it,
nuclear
Roger. I think you'd
wasteland.
really like it.
It's really good, Roger. Yeah, it's a great
I
book.
mean, some parts of it are a little dated because they're very Cold War era, but even that kind of is coming back around
It's
to be
needed.
more applicable. So yeah.
So,
No,
so
you know what?
Monks would.
Sarah Norton gave me the paperback for it, and I was going to read it, and then I moved.
Oh, so it's in a box somewhere, probably.
Yeah, I can't have
You can digitally get it, I'm sure, for
Yeah.
not much money. It's a great book. I haven't read it for like 30, 40 years, but it's great.
We read it for Sword and Laser a year or two ago, I think.
Cool.
And the cool thing about it was there were two different versions kicking around apparently.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because one had been updated to say, I may be confusing this with another book actually. There was one that was updated to say Russians instead of Soviets, but maybe that wasn't Canonical. That might have been a different book.
Interesting.
But it's the same sort of thing where like there are some long, deep history things that apply. Certain global events persisted longer than they did, mostly relating to the Soviet Union. But
Yeah, well, I mean, back in that day, I mean, the Soviet Union was kind of immutable. It was just going to be there. Actually, you remember how you were telling me, like you were worried about a nuclear holocaust in the 21st century, and that was it. So you didn't worry about anything past the year 2000.
yes,
I was running under the assumption that the Soviet Union would be there in the year,
oh yeah, me too.
Oh, we all did. I remember, what was it, 86 that it fell apart? Is that what
89.
it was? 89. I remember it happening, and I guess I was 29 at the time, and I couldn't believe it. It was fascinating to watch, and I had this like utopian thing of like, oh, it's this great new future going forward. The European Union, which there eventually was, and
I know it was 89.
but I never saw the orange guy.
I know it so well because in 1989 I was studying Russian at the University of Illinois. And I had planned to do an exchange program with the Soviet Union. And I was fascinated. I was like, can't wait to see the Soviet Union. And then by the time it was time to apply, not only was there no Soviet Union, but there was no one to talk to at Leningrad State where the exchange like people weren't picking up the phone. And then one guy's like, oh yeah, it won't be a problem. It'll be fine. And then never got back to me. And I didn't end up going because I didn't luck into the right system of events because some people got into the program, but it was so disorganized that I didn't end up ever going.
I don't know if you know this. When I was when I worked for NASA JPL, it was during the Soviet era, and I'd go to the Soviet Union. I go to IKI, which was their space agency. Yeah, and I've gone a few times, and it was bizarre. And I was still in those government programs when things started to fall apart.
Uh-huh.
And so it was interesting to kind of go there year after year and get this kind of like snapshot through time of what was happening.
Oh yeah. I mean, do you
Fascinating.
think it's weird when you're working at a company that gets taken over by another company and the signs haven't changed yet? I mean, imagine an entire country.
Yes. That's a beautiful way to express it. That's literally what was going on.
Yeah.
And nobody knew what to do. It was really like they started getting choices. Like there's a big department store in Moscow called GUM,
Oh yeah. Yep.
and it used to be like, this is where you buy the bread, and this is where you buy the apron for your wife, and this is what And now other markets opened up, and choice started happening, and no idea what to do. And, like, why do I need more than one type of bread? Why do I need
Where's
different
the bread?
washcloths? Yeah.
Yeah.
It was fascinating
No, they
stuff.
have I don't know if it's actually supposed to be GUM itself, but they have some great sets in The Americans and some parts that take place in Moscow where they show those grocery stores and how it's like,
Oh,
here
funny.
are the pickles and here is the bread. And
That's so funny. I haven't seen that show yet. I still have to watch it.
All right, guys, I'm logging off. My daughter made Muddy Buddies, so I gotta go get them.
oh man,
Well, you should
go
send
man.
those. Send
Enjoy.
those to us.
I don't know what those are, but they sound good.
Chex with chocolate, and they're just so good. Muddy Buddies, look them up.
Have a good weekend, man. Thanks. Good to
Right.
have you back.
Yeah,
Enjoy it,
thank
Lenny.
you. I
Take care.
will. Good meeting you, and we'll see you
Nice to
the
meet
week
you too,
after.
sir.
Yes. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Cheers.
In fact, we're out of here too. Thanks everybody for watching.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You guys are the best.
The best.